And just like that, the coin bends in their hands.
Open sesame!
The great thing about a simple coin bend like this is that we're just applying some oldest time classic sleight of hand moves of magic. But if you throw in a bent quarter into the situation, you're creating a really strong illusion. So to do a quarter bend illusion, you need 2 quarters. Now these 2 are not matching, but I would highly recommend finding some matching quarters. So you're looking in your change pile, or getting a hand of some quarters, and you're gonna look at the date. So if I was to do this perfectly matched, this one says 1984, I'm just looking for another one that says that. There's 2 types of quarters, and there's even newer runs of quarters these days actually. So you're gonna be paying attention to which version of the head you have. You also wanna pay attention to if it's a state quarter or if it has that eagle on it. And you're just trying to match the quarters up perfectly. So look at the date. Look at if it's the eagle on the tails or if it's a state quarter. If you end up with a state quarter, of course, you need to match the state and the year, but that's what you're looking for, is matching quarters. Now to make a bent quarter, what you want to do is get 2 pairs of pliers, and you're going to wrap a quarter up in some tissue paper or some paper towels, or maybe like a washcloth, something that provides some dampening effect so that you are not getting a bunch of teeth marks on the quarter. And then you're going to hold it between the 2, and you're just going to use some strength and bend. It will bend if you apply enough pressure and it's clamped between those pliers. And you can experiment with what kind of bend you like. I like a little bit of a curve. Sometimes you can get it straight down the middle if that interests you. I kind of like this where it's off to the side a little bit, and that's all you need. So you have this actually bent coin and a not bent coin, and again, I recommend them being identical. You're going to show this coin and have it examined, and in this version of it, kind of proving it, you can show, like, hey, what's the date on that thing? Something like that. So you're not trying to overprove, like, hey, pay attention to what this is, but just asking nonchalantly, like, what's the date on that thing? So they can look at that. And so to prepare to do the switch, you're gonna have this in finger palm. I kind of like to have it in my ring finger palm. And again, finger palm is just holding it exactly where you see, and you're kind of curled in, which allows you to hide it in your fingers and it's not being seen. So you're not holding it in your you're not pinching it here. You are holding it in your fingers. And as you take it back from them, you're going to ask them and show, like, hey, open your hand up. And when they open their hand up, you're going to do the Bobo coin switch. So this is a classic coin switch. It's very easy. And you're basically just bringing this behind your fingers while you toss down the switch in coin from finger palm. So in motion, that's going to be basically curling your index finger in, releasing, and that's going to make this drop. You uncurl, release, and then you hide with your index. It's the motion of throwing it in your hand like that, okay? But you're not lingering there. You're doing the Bobo switch as you're saying, hold your hand out, and as they go to do that, you're going to do the switch, and then you're going to come back. So you've switched this out, and you can pocket it when the time is right, but now you have a bent coin ready to go. And the way you're going to do this is, there's a number of ways. I've seen it presented a few different ways, in fact. So you can put it in their hand and have them close their hand around it. And obviously you're making sure they don't see the bend. And you can have them start to squeeze tighter and tighter, and then they'll start to feel it. You can have them start to squeeze tighter, or just ask them if they feel anything. And if they kind of are feeling around in their hand, they'll start to feel that something's different. And then it feels like it's bending in their hands, which is super cool. But one of the classic principles of metal bending is kind of hiding and then revealing a bend. So this coin is already bent, but we're able to show some of it. So you can have them hold their hand open, and then by just pressing down, it makes it look like it's bending in the moment, but that lip is just coming up from under your fingers, which is really cool too. So again, from the beginning, you have this examined. You nonchalantly mention, like, hey, what year is that coin from? Then you take it back so that you can tell them, hey, hold your hand out like this. And as you come back, as they bring their hand out, you're going to execute a Bobo switch just casually so that you can put it in their hand. So from an exposed view, you're introducing this coin and having it checked out real quick. You have this coin in finger palm. Now I'm left-handed, so Sometimes I like to have things in my subordinate hand. It just feels comfier. But you could also have the bent coin prepped here. And when you take this coin back to show them that you want them to open their hand, you can then come back as they're opening their hand, and you're going to do the Bobo switch. So you extend these fingers, toss that in, you get into position. So in motion, and then I come over like this. So the casualness is really important, as this is not a super fancy switch. It's just a way to have both of these objects in the same hand. And then as you make as though you are putting this object in this hand, you're doing that switch. So one more time in motion. Hold your hand out for me. Perfect. Thank you. And I do like to go out like this if I'm able, where I'm showing some of the coin, but of course we're being careful to not show the bend. Another thing to note is that you don't have to immediately ditch this in your pocket. That might even look a little suspicious. So you might put this in your hand and just keep this in finger palm while you're bending it in their hand, or have them close their hands up and back up. And then while you're just talking to them, describing how, are you feeling anything different? There will be a moment in there where it'll feel natural to just reach in your pocket and then come back out casually. So don't be too quick to get rid of evidence. That is something that can definitely feel like a temptation in magic, but you really want to watch the pacing of the moments and act as you would if you didn't have anything in your hand. So do the switch, place in their hand, bend in their hand, or have them curl their hands up. And there might be a moment during that you can just casually pocket, or better yet, you know what? I think as they're examining that coin when they've seen it bent, that's a great, even larger window, similar to, we talked about this with the transposition effect on the channel. When there's a big reveal, that's a great moment to ditch. So keep that in mind as well. You might want to wait all the way until they are examining this coin for you to then ditch this into your pocket. So that's the basic coin bend. You have a bent coin, you have your original coin, and you use a finger palm and then a Bobo switch to just sort of casually go from one hand into the other and bend the coin in their hands however you'd like. You can do that slow version, or you can do the sort of more visual version where you bend it in their hand. So what do you do afterward? Well, first, of course, letting them examine the fact that they can't bend it back, or at least it'd be very difficult to, and that this is the same quarter. You can just kind of let them organically see the fact that it's still the same date. We're not trying to oversell that there, because at the end of the day, people know you can have a quarter with the same date on it, so you're not trying to really put all your evidence on that, right? It just is kind of a happenstance consistency that you want to play upon. But something else you can do that I've done after this is go straight from a coin bend into a coin to impossible location trick, of which there are many. And if you do that, what you can do is psychologically make it seem like something was the case that never was, which is, at this point, you can have them sign the coin. So you've bent the coin by doing a switch. Now have them sign the coin with a Sharpie, which of course in magic we do to communicate the fact that we're not using duplicates. So you've used a duplicate and gotten that out of the way. And now when you go into a new routine, have them sign this coin, which I also think is interesting. They're signing a bent coin, right? And then you make that coin appear in your pocket or to a nest of wallets, if you're familiar with that. There's lots of great, object to impossible location tricks out there. And I think we can talk about that in a future video on this channel. So be sure to look out for that. But I wanted to, for now, communicate the idea that if you're able to go into another trick with this coin, not only is it an interesting object because it's bent, but if you sign it now, or have the audience sign it now after the bend, if you do just a little more magic with it, or bring it home with a coin to impossible location, they might just subtly misremember when they signed it. They might not, and that's okay. You've given them lots of magic moments. That's great. But if they do misremember it, they might even be telling the story later to their friends that you bent a signed coin. And so if they do remember it that way, that's just icing on the cake. So again, it's okay if they don't remember it that way, but that's a moment you can play upon in psychology where if they misremember it, you've gotten an even stronger effect in their mind. Be sure to practice your finger palm and that Bobo move well. But let me know in the comments below, are you into coin magic? How is coin magic for you? I feel like it can be polarizing in terms of some people just focus on cards or other things, and some people are all in on coins. So what do you think? Or let me know what's your favorite version of the coin bend, as there are a lot out there. Keep enjoying your magic and stay a hobbyist at heart. I will see you in the next video.